Stocks and shares have been ways that people have gathered wealth over many decades. And young people today don't even know if they should invest their money in stocks, how it works, and if it's even profitable. Well, I've held some stock for at least 10 years. I started investing when I was a teenager, and this is a printout from 2021. The name of the stockbroker I used is Reward Investment and Services Limited. I also printed one in 2019. And the aim of this video is to compare the price of the same stock in 2019, 2021, and their prices today. Now, for context, some of these stocks have done 4,000%, at least 2 out of the 6 that are here. Some others have done 800+%, 700+%. But let's dive into the video and see how many X I've made on this portfolio. Mind you, what you're seeing tape on is my CSCS and CHN number. For security reasons, I taped them up. So of recent, I was going through some old documents that I had in some of my bags, and then I realized, oh wait, I actually printed out a portfolio of mine in 2019. As at this time, my dad had passed. I was working just before then, after I finished my OND, that's my Ordinary National Diploma, and then I was putting a little money into the stock market. On some months, it's 10,000 naira. On some months, it's 5,000 naira. I think the highest I ever did was about 25,000 naira. But before he died, we began to make some mistakes. What was that mistake? That mistake is one of this stock. It's called Oando. I don't know if you can see it. Now, at the time, Oando was ranging so much. Oando had so much potential. It is a growth stock. Then they had bought ConocoPhillips. They were buying a gas plant. They were selling back again. The whole thing was so messy. So I bought at the top, sold at the bottom, bought at the top again, thinking it was now going to rise and all of that thing. But all of those did not hold me back. But for some reason, I held on to Oando up till this day. Now, mind you, after my dad passed, I was discouraged, so I didn't even look at stocks again. I didn't even know I still had something until, like I said, I found this. So on finding this, I decided to go and make some research. How much are the prices of each of these stocks today? And how much have I made on each of these stocks? Mind you, I started investing in these stocks as a teenager. So the money I was putting in was so small at the beginning part. Money that I was given by visitors and the likes. Until I started making some little change that I could put in myself after my OND. But when my father died, I was left with so much debt. It was about over 1 million naira at the time. I went to a private university and 1 year's school fees was over 1 million naira. It was so great a debt. This could not cover it up because when you calculate everything on this side, which is the value, it was about 50,000 naira. So I just gave up on this and thought, well, it is nothing. But as of today, it's kind of a fortune. So let's get into the video. And if you're new here, my name is Toby Chooks. I'm Africa's biggest brand storyteller. And with this channel, what I do is help young Africans understand money, how to save money, how to grow money, and how to invest your money so you can multiply it. And I try to do this using real stories. So when I found this account statement, I just knew a video had to come out of this. First of all, if you don't understand the stock market, well, the stock market is a place where you can buy a tiny share of a company. So for example, if you buy a share of First Bank Nigeria, it means you're automatically one of the owners of First Bank Nigeria. When they are writing to the owners of First Bank Nigeria, they'll also write to you. They'll address you as dear fellow shareholders. When the company makes money, when they're splitting the money among the owners of the company, you get a share of that money based on the stocks of that company that you hold. And that money is called dividend. And that way you can make money from shares is if the price go up. Say for example, you buy First Bank shares at 1 naira per share. And today, it's currently worth about 15 naira per share. It means you've made 15 naira times the amount of shares you bought at the price you bought it. 1 naira, like I said in the beginning. So 15 naira times each of the amount of shares you bought when it was at 1 naira. If you decide to sell it at that point, then it becomes your profit. If you don't sell at that point, it is referred to as unrealized gains. You've gained, but you have not yet sold it to realize that profit. Just like all the stocks on this portfolio, everything here is in profit except one, which is humbling, and you want to find out which one it is. It is not in a loss, but it's also not in a profit. It is the most humbling stock on this list. And because I've not sold any stock here, it is unrealized profit for me. Now, unlike your savings account where you are told your profit margin upfront, that's the interest you are going to receive, stock market does not tell you that one upfront. You can only make predictions and projections as to how a company is going to grow based on their activities. Are they acquiring other companies? Are they bringing in new products into the market? What are they doing to improve the stock for the shareholders? You can make your predictions from that. You can make your predictions from the economy. You can even make your predictions from the monetary policy committee that a country takes, because you are at liberty to invest in any country that you see fit. Another thing I want you to understand before we dive in is time. These stocks, I have held them since, at least the one you can see here is 2019. That's the date you can see right here, 2019. So that's a lot of time. That's like 6 years plus. By the way, I have bought them before this time. This was when after my dad had passed, I was going to see what stock I had. So I bought them way before this time. I think I stopped buying in like 2017, thereabout. So probably 9 years plus that I've held each of these stock. So the power of time compounded to give me every profit you're going to be seeing in this video. For each of these stocks, I'm going to be telling you what it was worth in 2019, what it was worth in 2021 I printed the second account statement, and what it is currently worth today based on today's price. Also, I'll be telling you what I would have made if I've invested 100,000 naira on each of these stock. What each of them would be worth today if I had invested 100,000 naira instead of the maybe 20,000 naira, 5,000 naira I have in each of this stock. First stock I would like to start with is the second one on the list. It is Dunlop Nigeria. Now, as you can see, Dunlop Nigeria is at 20 kobo per share, 0.2 kobo. Now, for that 0.2 kobo, I bought 4,000 units of Dunlop. In 2019, it was worth 800 naira. And in 2021, Dunlop was also worth 800 naira. It made zero move. I'm going to put a screenshot of this so you can actually see it clearly. Dunlop made zero move. And up to today, Dunlop Nigeria is still worth 0.2 kobo. And if I'd put 100,000 naira in Dunlop Nigeria at the time, it would still be 100,000 naira till today, except maybe the tax that they will take when I'm buying and selling, the cost of the brokerage house when I'm selling and buying, all of those, which will even further reduce the amount. So Dunlop Nigeria is the only humbling stock on this entire list. It made zero move, not even one move in like 10 years. The second stock I'll be looking at on the list is the one that is actually first on the roll. It is AIICO Insurance Nigeria. In 2019, AIICO was at 71 kobo, and the entire value I had of AIICO was about 399 naira. This is the oldest share I've ever held, AIICO Nigeria. I think I've heard this one before I was a teenager. My dad just bought it at the time, and it's always been there. It was like my first stock I ever got. It was a gift from my dad, my late dad. And in 2021, it was 0.9 kobo, meaning it appreciated a bit, and the value became 505 naira. Mind you, I didn't add any extra. I've not bought any extra unit to all of this stock that you can see here. It's the same thing that it has been. That's what it still is to today. As of today in 2026, AIICO is worth 4 naira 50 kobo. At least when I was making this research, it was worth 4 naira 50 kobo. So the entire worth of what I have in AIICO as of today has increased from 399 naira in 2019 to 505 naira in 2021, and at 2026, it had increased by 553% in profit. As of today, what I have in AIICO is worth over 2,500 naira. And if I had invested about 100,000 naira in AIICO, at the time, I would have bought around 140,000 units of AIICO shares at the time. And today, that amount will be worth over 633,000 naira, which is over 500,000 naira in profit if I had bought 100,000 naira worth of AIICO shares in 2019. Now, mind you, AIICO is an insurance company, meaning it's not really an exciting company as such, but still, it gave good returns. The lesson here is sometimes the boring businesses, so long they are making profit, that's exactly where quiet money is being made. The next stock on the list is the First Bank Nigeria Holdings PLC. Now, if you're Nigerian, I don't need to explain this bank to you. It's one of the oldest banks and the biggest financial institution in Nigeria. And in 2019, the price was about 8 naira 25 kobo per share. In 2021, it's about 11 naira 75 kobo per share. Meaning from 2019 to 2021, it made great leap. So in 2019, the value of the 850 units of stock that I had was about 7,012 naira. In 2021, the same 850 units gave me about 9,900 naira. And as at today, FBN Nigeria at 69 naira 95 kobo, as at when I made this research, is worth about 59,457 naira. So it went from about 7,000 naira, if you can see it here, to about 9,000 naira. And as at today, if you check the price online of First Bank Nigeria, make the calculations, 850 times 69.95, as when I was making this research, you see that it gives you about 59,000 naira plus. Now, if I had invested 100,000, because that was about 774% profit, if I had invested about 100,000 naira, it would have given me about 12,000 units, and that 12,000 units would have been worth 850,000 naira in today's amount. So anyone who acted in 2019 by buying First Bank stock and has held it to today will be in 8x profit of the original amount that they invested. Now, over time, First Bank has been making some expansions, but it's a problem that they concurrently have. They always have bad debt. Even as today in 2026, they have bad debt, and that's why it's still at 69 naira 95 kobo. Otedola has even come out on behalf of the bank to say they are going to forgive some debt, they're going to collect some and move forward on a clean sheet. But it keeps repeating itself. It just keeps on happening. So will I be holding this stock? I don't really know. If they decide to make some changes, key changes like they have been saying in the past few weeks, then it's still a good buy. Even at 69 naira, it's still a good buy. It has potential to hit 100 naira or plus in the coming future. The next stock on this list is Oando, and this one is personal. Me and Oando has a love-hate relationship, personal beef that we've not yet settled all of this while. Oando is the third to the last on this list, Oando Nigeria. As you can see, in 2019, the total valuation of what I had was about 37,000 naira. But I remember investing over 50,000 naira when I started. Like in total, at some point, it was worth 50,000 naira. And then in 2019, that dropped to about 37,000 naira. That's because Oando kept on doing policies that I do not understand. But I just believed Oando was going to be it. Matter of fact, I went to apply in Oando in their Victoria Island branch, I think. That's their headquarters, for internship when I was doing my OND. I was trying to do my, after I finished my OND, I wanted to get internship opportunity for 1 year before I go back for a HND or switch to doing a BSc with direct entry. I thought my shares was going to give me a foot in the door. I'll say, oh, I'm a shareholder. I've come here to apply. They always take me. I study petroleum engineering. But in my OND, I studied mineral resources engineering. I thought having, a share, or just a shareholder referred me. That was my reference. Apparently, it doesn't work out like that. So in 2019, Oando PLC, I had about 6,415 units. And in 2019, it was worth 5 naira 85 kobo per share unit. And in 2021, it was worth 5 naira 1 kobo. It even dropped. That means it was still dropping when I made this printing. But the good part is that today, Oando sells for about 54 naira 90 kobo per share. And today is worth a total of 352,183 naira 50 kobo. That is a massive leap. Probably 10x if I get that right. Close to 10x. 9 point something x. That's exactly 823% increase in profit. And if I had invested about 100,000 naira in 2019, as of today, it will be worth about 938,453 naira. Almost a million naira from 100,000 naira if I had put in 100,000 naira at the time. Mind you, the 50,000 naira I bought with dipped in 2019 to 30-something thousand naira. So if I had bought like maybe 70,000 naira more, to be close to a million naira. But it is what it is. Oando, is it a good buy right now? I don't know. I think you should decide and tell me. Do you think it's a good buy, or is this your first time coming across someone doing an account review for stocks? Because this is like an account review of what I've had in close to like 10 years now, or even more than 10 years. Just let me know what you think. Oando taught me the most important thing about stock investing. Sometimes the best thing you can do is do nothing. Because if I had given up because of the up and downs that Oando was doing at the time, I probably won't have Oando by now because at some point I genuinely hated Oando, but for some reason I forgot it on my portfolio, and here we are today. Now you might be asking, why didn't I start numerically and just keep following the list down? The reason is because I arranged all of these from the lowest in profit to the highest. And now the next will be Wema Bank. Now this one, it surprised me a whole lot. 4,800% in profit. If I was to be listing banks that I would put my money in, I doubt I'll put Wema Bank. I don't know. I think this was my dad's choice. My dad, who is late now, I think that was his choice when he was restructuring my portfolio. I think he took out some money for Oando because I knew Oando. I put a lot of money in Oando. I remember one period I put one investment, single investment, 50,000 naira minus other small I've been putting in Oando. So I think he was the one that put Wema Bank there. Kudos to you, Daddy, in heaven. But he did the. I would never have thought of Wema Bank. Wema Bank was like a penny stock at the time. I think Wema Bank right here was 0 naira 75 kobo in 2021. In 2019, it was 0 naira 71 kobo. I don't know, but my dad put that in there, and it's surprising. Well, for Wema Bank, I had 650 units in 2019 and 2021. And I still have the same amount today because I've not sold or bought any extra to this list. And Wema Bank today is currently 33 naira 95 kobo. When you multiply that by 650 units that I have, you have about 22,000 naira, of which earlier in 2021, which was like the highest, I had 485 naira 50 kobo. If you can see there, this is the last one, Wema. And today it is worth 22,000 naira. I think at this point, you should know that if you want to do stocks and shares, this is your cue to actually put your money in. Just put it in companies that you believe will make money, even though there are other ways of doing this. The investing, there's a trading. Trading is when you just move your money around. This one's giving dividend, you put your money in. This one's going up, you put your money in. But the easiest or easier way to make profit with your mind at rest is just keeping your money in a particular place and leaving it to grow. So if I had invested 100,000 naira in Wema Bank in 2019, I would have gotten 140,000 units of the bank. And as of today, it would have been worth 4.781 million naira. Woo! That's some cool I think I need to go and start looking into all these stocks that are so low and looking for where I can just put money in. I think Wema Bank is still a good buy because other stock in the banking sector are in like 80, 90, 120 naira. I think Zenith as of today is like the highest. You can see that people who gave up on Wema Bank in 2021 missed that entire rally because they were just ranging, and suddenly. But then again, you have to look at the fact that dollar rose, so most of those things, all the stock had to rise. So if you look at it in value, naira to dollar in 2019, naira to dollar today, and then the increase in value, somehow there's correlation that doesn't really speak as though you really make money. That's if you're spending in dollar. If you're spending in naira, trust me, you made money. And to the last but not the least, Vitafoam. This one has been sending me dividend, I think. So in 2019, I had 300 units of Vitafoam. In 2021, I had 360 units of Vitafoam. And I think that's because they gave bonus, yes, because I didn't buy more. And in 2019, it was worth 3 naira 98 kobo. It was worth 1,194 naira. And in 2021, it was worth 17 naira. That is huge move. 6,246 naira is what the entire thing was worth in 2021. But today, 2026, Vitafoam is sold for 194 naira. Over 60,000 naira is what I now have for value of Vitafoam. And if I had invested 100,000 naira in Vitafoam, because Vitafoam made about 4,774% increase from 2019. As of today, I will currently have close to 5 million naira, 4.8 million naira. That's if I had when it was 3 naira 98 kobo, it would have been 4.8 million naira. When you add the bonus to it, that is some real money. close to 5 million naira. And these people just make furnitures, sleeping foams, throw pillows, and the like. The investment opportunities are sometimes hiding in the most ordinary places. No hype, nothing. Quietly doing business, the everyday need, everything that they consume, growing steadily year after year. Here's my final verdict here. Dunlop Nigeria made me 0%, and 100,000 naira would have still been 100,000 naira. AIICO Insurance made 553%, which 100,000 naira would have been 633,000 naira. Oando made 838%, 100,000 naira would have been 938,000 naira. Wema Bank made 4,681%, 100,000 naira would have been 4.7 million naira. Vitafoam made about 774%. 100,000 naira would have been 4,874,000 naira. So out of the 6 stocks, 5 gave significantly positive returns in the year period between 2019 and now, which is about 67 years. And if only Dunlop wasn't on my list, I mean, the money would have grown exponentially. So the entire worth of this portfolio as at 2019 was about 50,000 naira. When you see 399 naira, 800 naira, 7,000 naira, 37,000 naira, 1,000 naira, and 460, it's not up to 50,000 naira. But at today, the entire worth of everything is about 500,000 naira. That's 10 times whatever I had invested. So imagine teenage me could do this. Imagine what my current portfolio is like. Imagine you start today and you're retiring in 20 years, 30 years time. What would your portfolio look like? You could start somewhere, start with 20,000, 50,000, 100,000 naira monthly, whatever you can afford. It makes you, the good part is it makes you understand that this money is no longer my own. So you're bringing out your paycheck and you're like, this amount is no longer my own. I'm putting it somewhere. And then since it's no longer yours, it's growing somewhere while you focus on what you have and build or live with what you have. And the future you will thank you. So you don't have only pension, you have stock options sitting and waiting for you. And there's a particular point you could accumulate up to that they could invite you to become part of the board of particular company you've invested in. That's my own dream, that someday I'll be on the board of a particular company, So yeah, my question to you now is, if you had 100,000 naira today, what stock on Nigerian NGX will you invest in? Which one will you put your money in? And what stock do you think can deliver in like the next 7 to 8 years, can deliver the same amount of return as Vitafoam or Wema Bank that is on this list? Say 4,000%. Drop your answers in the comments. I read every single one of them and I reply also. If you need coaching or direction, holla at me. There's a link in my bio. I'll reach out to you. My name is Toby Chooks. I help you understand money. I help you save, invest, and grow your money. If you love videos that help you grow your finance, then you want to watch this next video.